The safety material you are about to see is intended as a general overview of the subject matter being presented. This training is not being offered as an in-depth course and may not address all aspects of the subject matter being discussed. Always follow your plant's policies and procedures, which may differ from the video.
Portions of the following video were filmed prior to the requirement of face masks and social distancing. You should follow your plant's rules and regulations concerning the use of face masks and social distancing.
Our operations could not function without mobile equipment. When used properly, mobile equipment makes operations easier and safer. It provides the means to position and carry our raw materials and finished products. In doing so, however, there is risk to the operator and pedestrians. Mobile equipment incidents cause property damage, severe injuries, and fatalities every year. Preventing these incidents requires everyone to follow safety procedures and to recognize that certain hazards exist during mobile equipment operations. Mobile equipment is integral to our operations and undergoes rigorous use every day. As a result, frequent inspections are required to ensure the quality of the equipment. Perform and document a thorough pre-use inspection in accordance with your employer's requirements and governmental regulations to determine if the equipment is safe to use prior to operation. Skimming over the inspection checklist could easily result in overlooking a defect, which could result in serious injury to the operator or coworkers. Pre-use inspections include a visual inspection and an operational inspection. Conduct a visual inspection with the power off. During a visual inspection, check to make sure that all required components, such as the fluids, cables, wires, connections, wheels, and tires, are present and in good condition. After completing the visual inspection, conduct an operational inspection by turning on the equipment and testing its various functions. This is done to ensure that the equipment is mechanically sound and able to safely perform its functions. Inspect the engine for noise or leaks and make sure the seat belt, lights, horn, backup alarm, and brakes function properly. Do not operate the equipment if any unsafe conditions are found. Tag out the equipment and notify your supervisor and maintenance so that repairs can be made. Proper pre-use inspections and maintenance of mobile equipment plays a big role in incident prevention. To improve safety and reduce risk, operators must take steps to ensure that inspections are not overlooked. Let's say that you're conducting a pre-use inspection of your forklift before you operate it. While inspecting it, you notice that a few things just don't seem right. Can you identify what is wrong with this forklift? The forklift's tire is damaged, the nameplate is damaged, and the lights are not working properly. All of these are signs that there is something wrong with your forklift and that it should not be operated. Remember, if you notice any defects or damage with your mobile equipment, immediately take it out of service and contact your supervisor and maintenance. There is great risk of injury or death when a mobile equipment operator has not been trained, is not familiar with how a particular piece of equipment operates the equipment carelessly, or uses equipment that is not safe to operate. In fact, recently, several operators were observed operating equipment in ways that could have injured other employees. A few operators were observed with coworkers riding on the equipment, and another was observed engaging in horseplay after allowing a coworker to pass in front of the equipment. Fortunately, the observations were made before any of the coworkers were injured, but the incidents underscore the significant responsibility mobile equipment operators have for everyone's safety. Therefore, mobile equipment operators must be trained and authorized to operate the equipment. Operators must also have knowledge and understanding of the various equipment they operate in order to operate it safely. Operators must also be alert at all times. For safe operation, if you are an operator, your main focus must be to never have a collision with any person or object. Be 100% sure that nothing is behind or in a blind spot when moving. Conduct a 360-degree walk around the equipment before climbing into the cab. If your vision is limited, use a spotter to guide and direct you. When backing up, use your mirrors. Turn around to see clearly. Use a spotter, or if the equipment is equipped, utilize the cameras and check your surroundings. Ensure the backup alarm is working. An incident occurred when a contractor was digging a trench outside of the plant that he was working at to replace an old sewer line. While he was digging the trench, a skid steer operator was removing a trash hopper from inside the plant, which he had done many times in the past. While the skid steer operator was traveling in reverse through the overhead door, he forgot to look behind him once he cleared the door, backing into the unprotected trench. The local fire department was called to the scene and they were able to extract the employee from the skid steer. He was then transported to the hospital for serious injuries. Although the trench was unprotected and proper trenching procedures should have been followed, the skid steer operator should not have become complacent when backing out of the overhead door. It is important to never become complacent when operating mobile equipment. Maintain strong communication when non-routine tasks are being performed in your area. And always check your surroundings when backing up. Continue to be diligent and watch out for pedestrians and anyone working in your area of operation. Inform those working around you of your blind spots and require them to make eye contact with you before approaching the equipment. Insist coworkers stay out of the danger zones. As an operator, you can control the situation by stopping your machine and waiting until those in harm's way take a safe position. Never drive up to or move the equipment if anyone is between you and any fixed object where they could be crushed. Operate in a smooth, deliberate fashion, always allowing proper clearances. When operating in tight areas, take your time and move slowly to avoid a collision. Observe all safety rules, especially plant speed limits. Make sure you keep the proper distance from any overhead lines and respect any distance markers or barriers that are installed to warn those on the ground. Another incident occurred which resulted in an operator tragically being killed when the forklift they were using to move a storage tank contacted overhead power lines. At the time of the incident, the operator was using a rough terrain forklift with a telescopic boom, lifting slings, and had a coworker serving as a rigger and spotter. The forklift and lifting devices in use were approved and rated to perform the lift. While their coworker rigged the load, the operator waited in the cab of the forklift so they could then perform the lift. Once the coworker finished rigging, they spotted the operator while the operator lifted the storage tank from the ground, not noticing that the boom moved dangerously close to the overhead power lines in the area. As the operator continued to lift the tank, the boom of the forklift contacted the overhead power lines, causing the operator to suffer a severe electrical shock. Their coworker immediately called for help, and the power lines were de-energized so emergency services could attend to the injured operator. Sadly, the operator was pronounced dead at the scene due to severe electrical burns. This incident highlights a very important part of operating mobile equipment that is sometimes overlooked. Overhead power lines are often present in many work environments. If you are operating a piece of mobile equipment with features that could come into contact with overhead power lines, you must always be aware of where they are located and keep a minimum distance of 10 feet or 3 meters away. Knowing the voltage of overhead power lines in your work area is also critical, as the minimum distance that must be maintained increases as the voltage increases. Had these two employees taken the time to properly plan the lift and recognize the hazard that the overhead lines presented, this incident could have been prevented and a life could have been saved. Be aware of load limits when operating different equipment throughout the day. Depending on the equipment setup and size, load limits can change drastically. When lifting objects, make sure loads are secure. As with all equipment operations, confirm all coworkers are at a safe distance when lifting and moving loads. Wearing your seatbelt when operating mobile equipment is just as important as when driving your car. There is no excuse for not wearing it. Not only will it save your life in the case of a rollover, it keeps you firmly in your seat when operating on rough terrain. Falls resulting in serious injuries occur frequently when stepping on and off equipment. A good rule of thumb is to always maintain 3 points of contact when getting on or off your equipment. That means 2 hands and 1 foot, or both feet and 1 hand. Have a good grip, be careful with your footing, and inspect the ground for any hazards. When parking, always shift into neutral and set the parking brake. If leaving the equipment unattended, turn it off and remove the key. On the rare occasion that mobile equipment catches fire, turn off the equipment to stop the flow of fluids, minimizing the fire potential. If equipped, activate the fire suppression system and evacuate immediately. Mobile equipment is designed to handle large volumes or heavy loads. As such, mobile equipment is powerful and can be dangerous to all around if not operated correctly. Remember the proper operating procedures to prevent incidents. Each year, thousands of workers suffer from struck by, caught between, and other mobile equipment-related injuries and fatalities. Most incidents involve a pedestrian who, for any number of reasons, gets in the way of mobile equipment, and the operator either does not know they are there or cannot stop in time. Many times, when pedestrians think they can be seen by mobile equipment operators, they cannot. Pedestrians must be aware of blind spots, just like mobile equipment operators. Stacks of product, corners of buildings, and structural supports of mobile equipment cabs can cause blind spots. You may think the operator can see you, but you may be in a blind spot. Utilize designated areas and walkways for mobile equipment and pedestrians so that there are safety lanes in which to walk and operate. Also, as a best practice, pedestrians and operators must avoid distractions related to phones, texting, or other mobile devices, as these have the potential to create a serious incident. An employee is trying to get to their next job task and needs to walk from one area to another. Can you determine which path is the safest for the employee to take? When walking from one area of your facility to another, remember to be on the lookout for mobile equipment that is in operation, blind spots of the equipment, and blind corners. When feasible, pedestrians should always use designated walkways or pathways. You operate and work around mobile equipment every day, which can cause you to become accustomed to the presence of mobile equipment, not giving much thought to the risks. There are many hazards created by using mobile equipment for operators and for those who work around the equipment. Safely operating and working around any mobile equipment requires the shared responsibility of both the equipment operator and pedestrians. Always remember to remain diligent while operating and working around mobile equipment.